bonsoir à toutes et à tous. C'est l'un des coups de cœur du festival Diasporama, le film Neighbors du réalisateur suisse d'origine kurde Mano Khalil. Le film est disponible sur le site du festival fffj.fr jusqu'à mardi et nous avons le plaisir et le privilège d'avoir Mano Khalil en direct avec nous ce soir pour une interview exclusive. Il sera interviewé par la journaliste Susan Starkman et la traduction simultanée sera assurée par Jules Davio. Un grand merci également à Jérémy Abessira du Festival du film juif de Toronto qui nous a fortement conseillé ce magnifique film. Je vous rappelle que vous pouvez interagir dès à présent et poser vos questions en direct. Suzanne, let's go.
Born and raised in Syrian Kurdistan, the films of Mano Khalil explore the themes central to the Kurdish experience, including ethnic repression, displacement, and loss. His 1993 film, The Place Where God Sleeps, which explored the lives of Kurds living between the borders of Syria and Turkey, resulted in his arrest and imprisonment in Syria. Undaunted, he has continued to use his considerable talents as a filmmaker to raise awareness of the plight of the Kurdish people through documentaries such as Al-Anfal and The Beekeeper. His latest film, Neighbors, is a fictionalized account of growing up Kurdish under the Ba'athist regime.
Mano Khalil est né et a grandi au Kurdistan syrien et ses films explorent des thèmes propres à l'expérience kurde, notamment la répression ethnique, l'exode et les pertes humaines. Dans son film Là où Dieu dort, réalisé en 1993, il dressait le portrait de la vie des Kurdes résidant à la frontière entre la Syrie et la Turquie, ce qui mena à son arrestation puis à sa détention en Syrie. Imperturbable, il a depuis continué à utiliser son immense talent de réalisateur pour révéler au monde la situation désespérée dans laquelle se trouve le peuple kurde, avec des documentaires comme Al-Anfal, Au nom d'Allah et L'apiculteur. Son dernier film, Voisin, Neighbors en version originale, est le récit fictif d'un jeune kurde qui grandit sous le régime ba'athiste. Go ahead, Susie.
Okay, my first question to you, Mano, is that most of your films in the past have been documentaries. And your last film and this film are both fiction features. What drew you to switching from genre?
La plupart de vos films passés ont été des documentaires, le dernier est le film actuel. Qu'est-ce qui vous a poussé à changer d'approche? Go ahead, Mano. You need to unmute.
Unmute.
Mano, we can hear you. You have to unmute.
Unmute.
Okay.
There you are.
I'm sorry. Good evening to everybody. Thank you, Susan, for your question, for your introduction. It was really, I'm happy to be now with you. Unfortunately, I'm not with you physically, but believe me, with my heart, I am with you and with all people who saw the movie. Regarding to your question, as you said, I am a Kurd from Kurdistan, Syria. I went to Czechoslovakia in 1986 to study filmmaking. And I finished my film school as a fiction film director, not a documentary film director, as a fiction film director. But then when I went back to my country, to my homeland, to Kurdistan, to Syria to make movies, then I made only one movie, The Place Where God Sleeps, and I had to go away and I came to Switzerland. You know, it's then start a time with me to come to a country, you know, other culture, other language, you have to learn everything. And nobody was waiting for me here in Switzerland, telling me, Mano, we are waiting for you. You are coming to make a great films for us. No way. I had to fight, you know, to change myself from a number as a refugee to a human being first, and not to a filmmaker. And making documentary films was very easy. I didn't need so much money to make documentary movies. Until I showed myself, until people here believed that, yes, he can do it, you know. Then I started to come back to my fiction work, fiction movies. For example, the script of Neighbors was written 25 years ago, okay. But I had no you know, the opportunity to make this movie. Maybe I will wait for Jules.
Translate that?
Yeah, and then coming back again between the documentary and fiction, I will tell something.
Ok, donc comme vous le savez, je suis né au Kurdistan. En 86, j'ai émigré en République tchèque pour étudier la cinématographie et j'ai eu un diplôme qui n'était pas en documentaire, mais plutôt en fiction. Ensuite, j'ai émigré en Suisse. Là, j'ai connu un autre pays, donc une autre culture, une autre langue, forcément, et personne ne m'attendait ou n'allait me soutenir dans mes projets. Alors, j'ai dû me battre, changer mon statut de réfugié à celui de personne et donc à celui de réalisateur. Au début, c'était moins cher de faire des documentaires, donc c'est cette voie que j'ai suivie. Et lorsque j'ai rencontré la popularité, j'ai obtenu la confiance en moi requise pour passer à la fiction et réaliser des projets qui me tenaient à cœur depuis longtemps. Par exemple, le script pour le film que vous venez de voir, ça fait 25 ans que je l'ai écrit. Go ahead.
And for me, it's a person as a filmmaker. Really, I don't see any difference between fiction movie or documentary. The most important for me as a filmmaker is to bring my story, to bring my idea, my feelings to my audience. And if it's a fiction or a documentary film, it don't play any rule, you know. It's today we are making a documentary film. We are inscenating everything. We plan everything. We are, you know, many times I say we are not in the time of Ziga Virtov, where the camera just was in the street and people walking in front of the camera going to the factories. Today, we have to arrange everything. We have to have a place where the camera is. We have a protagonist in front of the camera. The way how you are working with your protagonist in the documentary film, it's very important to have these feelings from him, to bring these feelings, to break the border, the wall between you as a filmmaker and the protagonist, which is not actor. This is most important. For example, in my movie, The Beekeeper, really in Switzerland was a very successful film. Worldwide, we were in United States, in Japan, in India, and all over the world. We get, I think, more than 12 prizes. It was in Locarno Film Festival. This movie, for me, it's absolutely no different between a fiction movie or documentary. It's absolutely, it's the same, you know. The way how I was working with my beekeeper, the man who was working with him, it was somehow, there was a respect between us. They were, you know, they were opening his heart, and he was doing things without to play, but he was himself, you know, and that's I say, I mean, it don't play any role. The most important is to bring your idea, to bring your thought, to bring this transform, you know, to your audience, and that's and now I'm changing between documentary and fiction movie. It's absolutely, for me, don't play any role, as I said.
Eh bien, écoutez, pour moi, en tant que réalisateur, la fiction ou le documentaire, c'est sensiblement la même chose. Ce qui importe, c'est surtout de faire passer ma vision, mon émotion au spectateur. Aujourd'hui, quand on fait un film, on planifie tout, on ne se contente pas de filmer ce qui se passe dans la rue, comme ça a pu être le cas par le passé. Et dans un documentaire, les sentiments doivent vraiment être là de la part de l'acteur. Quand j'ai réalisé Apiculteur, qui s'est révélé être un gros succès mondial, on a raflé plus de 12 fruits, eh bien, là, c'est différent, mais au final, est-ce que la différence est vraiment sensible? Je ne pense pas. Quand j'ai tourné Apiculteur, on avait un véritable respect entre nous, et l'acteur faisait les choses sans véritablement jouer, vu que c'était son rôle. Mais encore une fois, l'essentiel est de faire passer mon idée, ma vision, mon émotion aux spectateurs qui voient mes productions. Go ahead, Susan.
And I come back to the neighbors, for example. Neighbor, could be very difficult for me to make a documentary film about the subject. You know, I was really, I needed this feelings more to you know, to go back 40 years and to talk in front of the camera you know, it was a little bit difficult, and had to be a fiction movie. And that's why I decided to make a fiction movie. I could meet my people in diaspora. You know, there is millions of Kurds living here. There is thousands of Syrian Jewish people living in New York or everywhere, in Brazil, everywhere in this world. You know, I could meet them, but for me, I wasn't satisfied. I could not be satisfied with the result. I had to make this fiction, you know, this to play somehow, to build a new world, the same world, you know, to rebuild this world, which I lived by myself, my feelings, my experiences as a small child. And that was very important to have it as a fiction film and not a documentary.
Eh bien, écoutez, dans Voisin, ça aurait été très difficile d'en faire un documentaire plutôt qu'un film. J'avais besoin de beaucoup plus d'émotions. C'est un sujet où je voulais revenir 40 ans en arrière. Et ça devait véritablement être une vision. Bien sûr, j'aurais pu aussi rencontrer les Kurdes de la diaspora. Il y en a beaucoup aux États-Unis, au Brésil. Mais pour moi, ça n'aurait pas été suffisant pour atteindre mon objectif, qui était de véritablement reconstruire ce monde. Correct.
Okay, yeah, I want to pick up on that because it's very clear to me when you watch the film for the first time that this must be an autobiographical film. And to that end, I would like to ask how much of the film reflects your own childhood and how, what liberties did you take that were different? Because it would have been a different time period too, wouldn't it? You would have grown up in the 60s, not the 80s.
Yes. It's, for me, to tell you the truth.
He has to translate. Sorry.
Excuse me. Yes.
Sorry, guys. Donc, pour moi, c'est très clair que quand on voit le film pour la première fois, qu'il y a une forte dimension autobiographique. Et j'aimerais à ce sujet vous demander dans quelle mesure est-ce que le film s'inspire, se fait l'écho de votre propre vie, et dans quelle mesure vous avez pris des libertés avec votre propre scénario. Car si je ne m'abuse, vous avez grandi dans les années 60, n'est-ce pas? Go ahead, man.
I think the most of what I wrote in this movie, what I did in this movie, it's from my own experiences from my life as a small child. In this part of the world, in Syrian Kurdistan, my mother, she's Kurd from Kurdistan, Turkey. My father is a Kurd from Syria. And these scenes, for example, on the border, at the border, I live it. I still remember how I met for the first time my uncle, and my aunts on the border. And they kissed me through the barbed wires, that time. And how the Turkish soldier from one side screaming to my family from the other side, and Syrian police soldiers screaming to us. This is my experiences. And in the school, it was the same. We are Kurds. We didn't understand a single word in Arabic. And from the first day in the school, we had to speak Arabic. And when I grew up a little bit, I knew this regime. I knew the structure of the regime. This brutality, what they were doing to the people. The result of this brutality, this education, what they did, it's today's Syria. 14 million refugees, 1 million killed people, destroyed cities, and nothing changed. From 60s until now, the last 60 years in Syria, nothing changed. The Ba'ath regime, which rules Syria, is the same Ba'ath regime, is the same ideology, is the same son of the same father. Mm-hmm. They are using the same, I say table and chairs, and the same paper and the same stamps. My movie, it's not about the past, it's about today. We are going to the refugee camp, which Syrian people are living. And we just ask ourselves why these people in this refugee camp are. We just make a turn back and come back again to the refugee camp. That's all. Our movie is from the present, talking about the present, about today's situation,
Jules?
Bien, écoutez, la majorité de ce que j'ai écrit ou de ce qui est fait dans le film provient de mon expérience personnelle d'enfant. Ayant grandi au Kurdistan, en Syrie, ma mère venait du Kurdistan, mon père de la Syrie. J'ai vécu la scène, par exemple, à la frontière. J'ai moi-même rencontré mon oncle et ma tante. Je les ai embrassés à travers la clôture de fil de fer barbelé, sous les cris des soldats des deux côtés de la frontière. Pareil pour toutes les scènes à l'école. Quand j'ai commencé l'école, je ne comprenais pas un traître mot d'arabe. Et en grandissant, c'est comme ça que je l'ai vécu au niveau de l'éducation. Maintenant, il y a eu 14 millions de réfugiés, il y a eu 1 million de morts, mais il faut bien réaliser qu'il n'y aura absolument rien à changer depuis les années 60. C'est le même régime, la même idéologie, le même fils du tyran précédent. On pourrait même dire qu'on utilise carrément les mêmes tables et les mêmes chaises, mais c'est un film sur aujourd'hui, pas forcément sur le passé, parce que ces camps de réfugiés existent toujours et la situation demeure malheureusement très actuelle. Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so let's. Did you want to add something there?
No, I mean, it's the same. It's not only with Kurdish people, with all other people living in this country, Syrian Jewish people. There is no single Syrian Jewish in Syria now. Everybody, you know, went away. They are living everywhere, but not in Syria. And this, to talk about this subject, about this catastrophe, about this tragedy, that was really, I'm really proud to be able, you know, to do these things, to do it with my own, you know, with my own, how they say this small power in this production firm. I'm sitting, I'm doing this movie, you know. Really, I'm really, I did something for myself. I think it was like a huge stone, you know, living in above my heart. I couldn't sometimes breathe. Really, I was saying all the time to myself, when I'm going to do this movie, when I'm going to do this script, which was all the time lying on my table, you know, in front of me. I was taking him with me like a piece of clothes, really, and really until I realized, and that yeah. Something done.
Eh bien, écoute, c'est pareil pour les Kurdes comme les Juifs syriens, il n'y en a plus, ils sont tous partis, ils habitent désormais à travers le monde, mais plus en Syrie. Et j'ai été extrêmement heureux de pouvoir enfin faire ce film avec les moyens ou le pouvoir dont je dispose. C'est un projet qui me tient très à cœur, qui m'a tenu éveillé très longtemps et qui m'attendait au pied du lit, un peu comme les vêtements qu'on prépare pour le lendemain. Ouais.
I have a few questions about casting, but I want to start with the casting of the young boy, who is unbelievably sensational. Firstly, I noticed his last name is Khalil. I don't know if he's related or if it's a common name, but wherever you got him, he's fantastic. And how did you get him?
Eh bien, j'ai des questions sur la distribution. J'aimerais commencer par le petit garçon qui est vraiment phénoménal. J'ai d'ailleurs remarqué que vous avez le même nom de famille. Est-ce que c'est un nom de famille répandu ou est-ce qu'il a des liens avec vous? Enfin, où l'avez-vous trouvé? Go ahead, man.
This is really very nice story, but I already told it many times, and some maybe believe me or some didn't, but really it was like this. We went to Iraqi Kurdistan to a refugee camp, a Syrian Kurdish refugee camp in Iraqi Kurdistan. For me, it was very important to have a child from Syrian Kurdistan who is speaking the same dialect, you know, who is speaking the same language. Because in Kurdistan, we have some dialects. Every second village have other dialect. And for me, it was very important that he be a Syrian dialect. And then we casted, I think, about 200 small children. I came to Switzerland with my production manager. We saw all these kids, and the casting was simple. Every child who was standing in front of the camera telling me good day in Kurdish in 3 ways. Once angry, happy, and sad, changing this good day, you know, in 3 ways. And I saw all these children about 1 week long, you know, 200 children. I wasn't happy. Then I made a second and third casting. The third was in Syria, in Kurdistan. I had 4 assistants who started to make the same art of casting, children standing of the camera, telling good day in these 3 ways. And when they sent me these videos, I was just looking at them. And once I saw a small child, that time he was 5, standing in front of the camera, telling me good day in 3 ways, like a Hollywood star. And I stopped, I showed again and again. I told to my people here in the office, I said, look at him, he's a nice. I want to have a contact to the family of this child. And really, I didn't know that his name, you know, because there was no name. Just I made a screenshot. I sent it to Syria, to Kamishli, our city, and who made the interview with him or the casting. He sent me. I told them I need a contact to the family. I have to talk to the family. I came the answer very quickly, and he said, actually, he is from your family because he is your grandnephew.
No.
Yes.
Ok. Alors, c'est une très belle histoire que j'ai racontée souvent. Pour la distribution, on est allé tout d'abord au camp de réfugiés kurdes syriens en Irak. C'était important pour moi d'avoir un gamin qui parle un dialecte identique commun. On a alors procédé à 200 auditions. On demandait à chaque enfant de se placer devant la caméra, de dire bonjour en kurde de 3 manières, en colère, joyeux et triste, ce qui a pris une semaine. Je n'étais pas satisfait, donc on a procédé à 2 autres rondes d'audition, cette fois en Syrie, au Kurdistan. Là, on m'a envoyé les photos et j'ai vu la vidéo de cet enfant de 5 ans. Et pour moi, c'était comme s'il était une vedette d'Hollywood. Je l'ai regardé encore et puis j'ai tout de suite voulu l'appeler. À ce moment-là, je ne réalisais pas qu'il avait le même nom de famille que moi. Et c'est quand j'ai finalement été en contact avec sa famille à Kameshli, là d'où je suis originaire, qu'on m'a confirmé qu'effectivement, c'était mon petit-neveu.
And you can just imagine when I went away from Syria, his father was 2 years old. And really, our family is big. I didn't, detail. I don't know everybody. I don't have picture for everybody. And the small child, 5 years, I know that maybe some of my nephews have children, but how they are looking and what their name, really, to tell you the truth, I don't know, because they are much too many. And then I invited him to Duhok, to Iraqi Kurdistan, and I casted him. He came. He was really perfect. He was brave. He was nice. He was clever. He was learning the dialogue very quickly. And I built with him a kind of friendship, I was Uncle Mano, like this, Uncle Mano, and like this, he was Sarhat. He was Shero, and I was the Mr. Director. And sometimes he was asking me, now it's like this or like this, and we were, and then I really treated him like a small child. I didn't treat him like a star. And I told his father and family, he will be like a small child, like all other children. He is very important for us. He is the star in the movie, but we will not treat him, he will not be a diva somehow in this set, because tomorrow the movie will be finished, and he will come back to his own life, and he have to leave his childhood, and he was really one of the most our best actors who never forget his dialogues. Yeah.
Eh bien, écoutez, quand je suis parti en Syrie, le père de Shanghai Khalil, le jeune, il avait 2 ans. Il faut savoir que moi, je viens d'une très, très grosse famille et que forcément, je ne connais pas tout le monde. Ils sont bien trop nombreux. Je ne sais pas qui ils sont ou à quoi ils ressemblent. Et quand il est venu sur le tournage, j'ai tout de suite trouvé très courageux, intelligent, travailleur. Il apprenait très vite ses textes, ce qui est très appréciable. Et on a développé une relation qu'on pourrait qualifier d'amicale. D'un côté, j'étais oncle Mano et de l'autre côté, j'étais le réalisateur. Et de temps en temps, il me demandait auquel il avait affaire, et je l'ai traité comme un enfant, pas du tout comme une vedette, parce que je voulais pas qu'il devienne une diva en rentrant chez lui, parce qu'après le film, comme tous les enfants, il reprend sa vie de tous les jours, et c'était vraiment l'un des meilleurs acteurs que j'ai connu. Il n'oubliait jamais son texte.
And come back to other casting. For example, all the children in the school class, they were from the refugee camp, which we casted them when I'm looking for the Shero's role. We brought them, and then for me it was very important to have right people, right actors, Syrian actors, Kurdish actors, to play the role which they understand. And I don't have to teach them the history about Syria. I needed somebody who knows. And that's why, for example, the teacher, Jalal Tawil, he is Syrian, a very famous Syrian actor who's living in Europe now. He had to leave Syria some years ago. Jai Abdo, who played the role of Nahum in the movie, he's in Los Angeles now, a very famous Syrian Arab actor. When they came, for example, to play the role, they knew about what they are talking. They knew the story because they brought something from their own life experiences in this country in the movie. That's mean we tried to build from ourselves our story in the story. It's not only my Mano Khalil story, it was our story. And one thing, it's very important, I will tell it, I was 3.5, something like this, or 4 years ago, I was in Brazil, in Sao Paulo. I had a movie there. And after the movie, I met an actress. She came to me and she was talking to me. She was very lovely and very temperament. and she told me somehow that she is from the country where I'm coming from. And then later we met again. I told her, what do you mean with that? And she told me, I am a daughter of a Syrian Jewish people, Syrian Jewish, who immigrated from Aleppo 1959 to Brazil, and I was born in Brazil. Tuna, a very famous actor in Sao Paulo in Brazil, she invited me to her theater play, and really after 2 days I went there. I showed her, she was playing the main role in this theater. I loved this lady. I said, after the theater, I said, you know, you will play in my movie. Of course, she said, yes, of course, my director, I will play in your movie. She didn't believe it. After, when I came back to Switzerland, after 3 weeks, I sent her my script. And she was really, she said, this is the story of my mother. Tuna, which played the role of Rosa, she is a daughter of Syrian Jewish people who immigrated, who had to immigrate from Syria. She came back to Kurdistan. She played the role of Rosa, actually the role of her mother.
Her mother. Fantastic.
Exactly. And that was for me, it was very important. Once I saw Tuna, how she was feeling this situation, you know.
Écoutez, au niveau de la distribution, par exemple, dans toutes les scènes qui sont dans la classe, le reste des étudiants provenaient des camps de réfugiés, dont nous avions réalisé les premières entrevues pour la distribution. Pour moi, c'est très important d'avoir les bons acteurs, qu'ils puissent jouer un rôle qu'ils comprennent, donc un Syrien qui joue un rôle de Syrien, etc. On avait notamment Gérald Tawil, qui est un acteur syrien très connu, Jah Abdul, qui est un arabe syrien également très connu, des gens qui connaissaient l'histoire et apportaient leur histoire dans notre film pour que ça devienne véritablement notre histoire. À titre anecdotique, il y a 3 ans, je suis allé au Brésil pour présenter un de mes films à Sao Paulo, et j'ai rencontré Tuna Dwek, qui vient du même pays, qui est une juive syrienne dont la famille avait émigré au Brésil en 1959 en provenance de Alep. On s'est revus plus tard, elle m'a invité à assister à une des pièces de théâtre dans laquelle elle jouait un rôle mineur, et quand je l'ai vue jouer sur scène, j'ai tout de suite voulu l'avoir dans mon film, parce que je lui ai proposé, je lui ai envoyé mon script, elle était très enthousiaste, et quand elle est revenue au Kurdistan, eh bien, elle m'a avoué qu'elle avait l'impression de jouer l'histoire de sa mère. En fait, son rôle, c'était celui de sa mère, et donc ça, c'est un aspect qui est vraiment très important pour moi. Correct.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, was there anyone who had issues? You know, this is a film that, you know, it's set in Syrian Kurdistan and it has a Jewish family and a Jewish element. Is there anyone who said, no, I don't want to be in this film because of that?
Est-ce que vous avez eu des difficultés à faire embarquer les acteurs pour jouer dans un film syrien avec un élément juif? Est-ce qu'il y en a même qui auraient osé vous dire non? Go ahead, madam.
Yes, this happened. I had for example, before I was looking for somebody who played the role of the father of Sharon, the role of Salim. And I will not say the name, but I contacted a very famous Iranian actor who I said he could play the role because he looks somehow in my head, you know, he can feel this role. And he was happy. He said, yeah, in Switzerland, why not? I will be very happy. Tell me the story. I told him the story. And then he heard that there is something about Jewish people. He said, no, I am sorry. I will not do it. Then other actress, she asked me many times, which she played in the movie too. She was asking me, can you please tell me that you really didn't get money from Israel or from Mossad? I said, no, I didn't get any money from Mossad and from Israel. And of course, when we start the production, there was some in videos, there's somebody made some news, you know, talking that Mano Khalil is going to make a movie about Kurdish, about Jewish people. And as soon as somebody was hearing about Jewish people, some of them, they were very crazy because, of course, until now, you know, and unfortunately in this Islamic world, in this Arab world, if somebody wants to call somebody bad names and telling him you are a murderer, you are a bad, you are I don't know what, they say, you are like a Jew, you know? And just you can imagine how there is, for example, the actor Jai Abdo in his Facebook, when he started talking that I am going to make a movie and I will play the role of a Syrian Jewish, there was thousands of commentars of his, you are a traitor, you are paying from Mossad, CIA, you will blah, blah, you know. Of course, you know, and if that wasn't, there was no meaning to make this movie. We made this movie to change something, because there is, you know, to change this mentality that we are human being, if, you know, and if ISIS killing people, not all Muslim are ISIS, you know, and if there is a bad Arab, not all the Arab are bad, or there is a bad Jew, not every Jewish people are bad. And if a Nazi did something in the Second World War, bad things, not all German people are criminal and fascist and Nazi, you know?
Yeah.
And this we have to change it. This we have to change it. This is what I wanted to say in my movie, to respect on each other, you know? Yeah.
Eh bien, écoutez, oui, pour le rôle du père de Siro Salim, j'avais contacté un très célèbre acteur syrien dont je tairai le nom. Je le voyais très bien dans le rôle, je lui ai raconté l'histoire, on s'en est parlé, et il était très enthousiaste, mais sauf que quand il a su à propos de l'élément juif, il m'a opposé un non catégorique. Dans mes morts d'idées, il y a une actrice que j'avais abordée qui m'a demandé de lui assurer que je n'avais reçu aucun argent d'Israël ou du Mossad. Maintenant, lorsqu'on a commencé le tournage, il y a une vidéo qui a été faite et qui disait que c'était un film sur les Kurdes juifs. Alors là, ça a suscité de très vives émotions. D'ailleurs, encore à ce jour, pour insulter quelqu'un, là-bas, on le traite de juif en tant que synonyme de criminel. Et quand Jabdo lui a avoué qu'il allait faire un film et jouer un rôle de juif, il a reçu de copieuses insultes. Mais c'est précisément pour ça que j'ai fait le film. C'est pour changer les mentalités. Nous sommes des êtres humains. Tous les Arabes ne se comportent pas comme les imbéciles d'ISIS. Tous les nazis... Enfin, tous les Allemands ne sont pas des nazis, etc. Moi, ce que je voulais changer, c'était cet état de fait, cette mentalité, pour nous amener vers un respect mutuel. Ouais.
Okay. And so I'm going to switch orders of my questions now, because this brings me to something else. You talk about how you want to change opinions, and this is what your film aims to do. And I think one of the things that I found very interesting to hear was that Neighbors recently played at the Red Sea Film Festival in Saudi Arabia, where it won the best screenplay. So can you tell me what it was like? What was the reaction like to play something like this in an Arab country, and how did they respond?
Eh bien, vous parlez de changer les opinions. J'aimerais à ce sujet changer l'ordre de mes questions et vous parler de la récente projection de Voisins, donc Neighbor, au Festival de la Mer Rouge en Arabie Saoudite. Comment est-ce que le film a été accueilli là-bas? Go ahead, Mano.
Yeah, you know, the movie was ready, and I could imagine to show the movie all over the world, but not in Saudi Arabia. To tell you the truth, I was never imagined that this movie with this subject, talking about the anti-Semitism in this world, talking about Jewish people, talking about Kurdish people, talking about the nationalism, will never play in this country. We know the history of Saudi Arabia. We know this country. We know how it's working, how it's living. And once they saw the movie, and for their first ever made film festival in the history of this country, they said, "We want your movie in the competition." I said, wow, to show my movie in the United States or in Switzerland or in Germany or in France or Kurdistan, it's not a miracle. But to show it in Saudi Arabia, that was a miracle for me. I said, yes. And because of that, really, I stopped it in 2 festivals. One of them was in Jerusalem Jewish Film Festival and in Carthago Film Festival in Tunisia. I said, I have to go to Saudi Arabia because this is very important to show this movie there. What was impressed me, and I was really very happy and very surprised. How surprised? I mean, the movie it didn't say something bad. The movie is very human, and I saw human people. We screened the movie twice in Saudi Arabia. We get the prize as a best script, and people, they were reacting very positively with the movie. Of course, we had some 2-3 very nationalistic minds who wrote something about the movie, bad about the movie, that it's financed from enemies of Arab world, of Islam. They want to destroy our country, blah, 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 you know, this kind of thing. But what important was in this, the audience in Saudi Arabia, young people, ladies in Saudi Arabia was sitting in the cinema, discussing with us so lovely. They loved the movie. They were crying after the movie. I saw a lady in typical Saudi clothes, you know, absolutely in burqa, how they call it. She just telling me things from her heart, how the movie was sensible for her, how she loved this movie. She was telling me, I saw hundreds of series of Syrian, you know, the soap operas, or I don't know what they call them, or the films. But this time I saw something which get my heart, really. And that was very nice. And this is how we are making change somehow. We, you know, this is the first, this is the first step. This is definitely the first step, I believe. Maybe next edition will have other movies, maybe more movies which breaking this taboo in this world, you know?
Eh bien, écoutez, j'étais prêt à montrer le film partout, mais j'aurais jamais pensé le présenter en Arabie Saoudite parce qu'il y a quand même un thème de génocide, d'antisémitisme. Et en plus, non seulement de le montrer là-bas, mais à l'occasion de leur tout premier festival international du film, c'était quelque chose de le présenter en France, en Allemagne, aux États-Unis, bon, bien sûr, mais c'est un petit peu plus normal, si on peut dire. Alors, quand on me l'a proposé, j'ai immédiatement dit oui. À l'époque, je participais à 2 festivals du film, l'un à Jérusalem et en Tunisie, et je me suis rué en Arabie Saoudite parce que c'était pour moi extrêmement important de le présenter là-bas. On a fait 2 présentations du film et on a rencontré un public qui était très humain. Alors, bien sûr, on a eu 2 critiques qui nous accusaient, qui accusaient le film d'avoir été financé par les ennemis de l'islam, du monde arabe, mais à la limite, peu importe, les gens que j'ai rencontrés, les jeunes, les femmes, à la sortie du film, ils pleuraient, ils avaient beaucoup aimé. J'ai même rencontré une femme qui était habillée traditionnellement avec une burqa et qui n'arrêtait pas de me dire à quel point elle avait aimé le film, combien elle l'avait adoré, qu'elle avait vu des centaines de films syriens, mais que celui-ci l'avait énormément touché. Donc c'est ça qui est très beau, et c'est comme ça, je pense, qu'on peut changer les choses et faire avancer le monde. Ouais.
I want to look at some of the women in the film. So, you know, you show a film where you can see the persecution of the Syrians, of the Kurds, but it seems to me the women in the film are almost doubly persecuted because they have to also live under the rule of men. And so the character of the aunt and the uncle, I'd like to hear a little bit more about why you put that in, that violent relationship between the two of them. So, Jules, if you just...
J'aimerais maintenant qu'on parle de la place des femmes dans votre film, qu'elles soient syriennes ou kurdes, parce que je pense qu'elles sont victimes doublement de certaines brimades, que ce soit par la tradition ou par les hommes, à travers les personnages de la tante et de l'oncle. J'aimerais que vous me parliez de ce qu'ils ont apporté dans le film. Go ahead, man.
You know, it was very important for me from the beginning. I didn't want to play the role of the judge in this movie, to you know, sending somebody to the death sentences or somebody free and telling this you are a victim and this is you are. It wasn't my aim to do such a things, but for me it was very important, for example, to show these ladies. I know my mother, for example, our ladies, Kurdish ladies in Syrian Kurdistan, they are very strong, really. Of course, there is good Kurdish men, but there are some stupid too. And to be a right director, to be a right to you know, to have this balance, to showing things right. The Uncle Ali, which he was crazy, which is hitting his wife, which is screaming, he had to be in this movie to put somehow from the reality. We are not angel, everybody, you know. There is some bad things in our society too. We have to fight against it. And the Ali was just an example, you know, of this oppression of women. Of course, we are living in a country which is occupied with 4 other countries: Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Turkey. We have many social problems, but instead of that, we are trying to be a model of the democracy and living together, you know. And we're saying in Kurdistan how the people are living together, or religions. We have no religion problem in Kurdistan between Christians, Jewish people, or Muslims, or Yazidi. People are living with one each other. This was very important. But to show a man from the family who is a black sheep, let's call him, was important to show this multicolored, not all the time positively society, yeah.
Ok. Eh bien, à travers ce film, je voulais à tout prix éviter de me positionner en juge et ne pas imposer ma vision de qui est une victime, qui est un bourreau. Les femmes kurdes en Syrie sont des êtres très forts et bien évidemment, chez les hommes, il y a des imbéciles. Et en tant que réalisateur, pour être réaliste, justement, j'estime que tout le monde doit être représenté parce que, dans le fond, on n'est pas tous des anges. Et l'oncle, eh bien, c'est un exemple de cela, de l'oppression féminine dont les femmes sont victimes là-bas. Il ne faut pas oublier qu'on a un pays qui est assis sur la Syrie, l'Iran, l'Irak et la Turquie, qu'on a des problèmes socio-économiques, mais on veut vivre ensemble. Et il n'y a pas vraiment de problème de religion là-bas. Le peuple a une attitude très œcuménique du vivre ensemble. Et le personnage de l'oncle, le mouton noir, ils ne sont pas toujours comme ça, mais il était pour moi très important qu'il figure dans la liste des personnages. Go ahead.
Hey, I want to pick up on some. Oh, sorry, Mano. Did you want to add something?
No, I think it's the Ali, for example, the story of Ali in this movie. It was a part of this mosaic, which is building this picture of the society of this world. Without Ali, without these three men who are sitting there all the days and just saying. He's just imagining that he will make an aeroplane just in this, three monkeys in the Japanese, in the Japanese philosophy. I just put them in my movie somehow. Kurdish was commenting everything and talking and yeah,
like a Greek chorus.
Exactly.
Like the chorus of the three men sitting there watching.
Exactly.
Yeah. Écoutez, le personnage d'Ali est un élément de la mosaïque qui fait partie d'un tout, donc c'était obligé pour moi de l'avoir. Et puis, comme les trois petits vieux assis sur leur banc qui font penser aux singes de la philosophie japonaise, ils avaient leur place également. Ouais.
I wanted to pick up on something that you said that really struck me when I was watching the film. You said, you don't want to judge. And you did that fabulously because the character of the teacher and the custodian, they represent the Syrian regime. They represent the enemy. But they come across, I mean, as comic figures in a way, but also in their own way, victims of the Assad regime. So can you talk about how you managed to convey them so sympathetically, particularly the custodian who was just sent there to colonize, the Kurdish area, but he didn't speak the language and he was also displaced.
Eh bien, écoutez, je sais que vous dites que vous ne voulez pas juger et je trouve que vous avez fait un travail remarquable pour y parvenir dans le film, en particulier avec les personnages du professeur et du conservateur qui sont par essence des méchants, mais qui sont également victimes du régime. Le conservateur, il est envoyé là, il est lui aussi plus ou moins en exode, il ne parle pas la langue, etc. Est-ce que vous pourriez commenter là-dessus, s'il vous plaît? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's very important and very nice question, actually. From the beginning, as I said, I didn't want to show black and white in this movie. We are human beings and we change. Really, we change. We have feelings, we change. The teacher, of course, I was living in Czechoslovakia. The Czechoslovakian country that time when I went 1986 was a communist socialistic country. Changed 1989. Václav Havel, who was under the arrest somehow, he became a president of Czechoslovakia. People who was supporting the communist regime suddenly came something else. Some of them were saying, I am sorry, we are sorry, we did something bad, We know in South Africa, there was apartheid, there was policies, there was some murderers. Somehow, I mean, they changed. And I am, as a filmmaker, I am really not coming here to revenge to somebody or just, to show him a bad guy. And I say, we are somehow victims because at end, this teacher at the end of the movie, he's telling the Shero, when I was small child like you, I had my secrets too. Mm-hmm. It means we are same somehow, but somebody changed me. I am now like this. I am standing here, and Shero was saying, yes, look at this. You know, these are her baby. And the teacher, I don't know if you understand or not, because you killed the mother, and somebody killed my mother too. You came to my village, you killed the mother of this small gecko, how they call them in English, I don't know.
Lizard.
Exactly. You killed their mother, and this is her babies. And you know, this is even the Clostadian, he's a human being. He's telling, I'm afraid. I don't understand these people, don't understand my language. This regime brought me, put me here. You know, I am just, I get their land, and I have to fight somehow against them. But somehow he's a human being. You know, there is something working in him. I mean, in this war in Syria, for example, 15 years ago, everybody was neighbor, everybody was good together somehow. You know, in spite of this regime who was doing everything bad to them, but people between one each other, they were somehow good to one each other. Somehow they were trying to help one each other. Came the war, destroyed everything. The neighbor is killing his neighbors. You know, this is Christian, they are the Muslim, this is Alawite, Sunnite, and everything is changing somehow. And we hope, we believe that this life will be changed again, and the people will come back again, and they will, you know, somehow, you know, and this is the way how I, as a filmmaker, am telling the story. This is, I think it's very important for us, you know. I'm not teaching somebody, you know, this is bad, do this, you will go to the paradise. Don't do this, you will go to do this, you will go to the hell. It's not my duty to do these things, you know, as a filmmaker. This is my opinion. I mean, and just I'm showing these people with heart, with feelings, and they say they do something bad. Maybe they believe that they are coming to build a paradise. This teacher, maybe he believed that I'm coming to build a paradise for these children who is, you know, who is living somewhere. We are bringing electricity for you. We are doing blah blah, you know. But the way how they are doing it is very bad. Maybe he understands. Yeah.
Okay, bien, c'est une question très importante. À travers mon film, je ne voulais absolument pas dépeindre le monde en noir et blanc. Je pense qu'on est tous humains, qu'on a des sentiments et qu'on change. Moi, quand je suis arrivé en Tchécoslovaquie en 86, c'était sous régime communiste. Et puis en 1989, Václav Havel, qui avait été arrêté, devient président. Les partisans du régime soviétique deviennent quelque chose d'autre. Pareil pour l'Afrique du Sud, avec ce que l'on sait sur l'apartheid. Les gens changent. Et donc, moi, en tant que réalisateur, je refuse de pointer les gens du doigt. Alors, on est tous semblables d'une certaine manière. Dans le film, quand quelqu'un tue sa mère, puis qu'ensuite il tue la mère du gecko, ben c'est ça, les êtres humains, comme le conservateur, lui il a peur, il ne comprend pas les gens, il ne comprend pas la culture. Si on revient sur la Syrie, il y a 15 ans, tout le monde était bien ensemble et s'entraidait, et la guerre a, si vous me permettez l'expression, tout foutu en l'air, mais je pense que le changement reviendra, et c'est comme ça que je raconte l'histoire. Je ne suis pas un prof, je ne suis pas une leçon à donner, je veux montrer des gens qui ont du cœur et vous montrer ce qu'ils croient. Go ahead.
Okay. I also just want to ask, I know that there were supposed to be questions coming in from the audience. So if anybody wants to send those to me, I can pass those on. But in the meantime, I wanted to ask a sort of historical question, and that is, Shero and his family lived next to a Jewish family in the 80s. Is that all artistic license? Were there any Jews still living in Syrian Kurdistan in the 80s? Or is that sort of a holdover from your childhood days?
Sorry, Mano, quickly, la question porte sur la véracité, la liberté artistique qui a été prise. Je voudrais savoir si dans le Kurdistan syrien, dans les années 80, il y avait effectivement des familles juives qui vivaient à côté de familles non juives. Go ahead, Mano.
Yes, there were many Jewish, Syrian Jewish people, even in our city, in Kamishli, because actually they were in Aleppo, Damascus, and Kamishli. They were living, and some villages around Kamishli, the Syrian Jewish people. They were living until 1992, I think the last, some families 92, they went away. The last ever Jewish person went, I think, 7 years ago, when this, you know, after 2 years after the war in Syria, the civil war, she went. I was a lady, I think. She went away to Turkey, and she went away. Even when we saw our movie in for 2 weeks ago in Lincoln Center in New York, came 4 Syrian from Syria, Jewish people, and they saw the movie, which they lived Syria in 1992, and 2 of them, father with a son, they were from Kamishli, from which I knew them personally. And yeah, of course. And there was many things. My sister, for example, she was living exactly in the same way with a Jewish family, and the same thing were happening with the family like this. Yeah.
Eh bien,
Of course, there is many fiction elements in this movie. Of course.
Effectivement, il y avait à l'époque de nombreux juifs syriens, notamment dans 3 villages, le village d'Alep, de Damas et de Kameshli, dont je suis originaire. Je pense que ça a perduré jusqu'en 1992, où le dernier juif, ou une juive en fait, est parti il y a 2 ans après la guerre civile. Et puis, vous savez, récemment à New York, on a fait 2 présentations du film, et à la sortie, j'ai rencontré 4 juifs de Syrie, et 2 d'entre eux venaient de Kameshli, mon propre village, je les connaissais. Et puis, dans le film, ma sœur se comportait comme cela avec les voisins. Go ahead.
The film is set in Syrian Kurdistan. I would imagine that for obvious reasons you couldn't have filmed there. So can you tell me what it was like to secure a location for the film? Yeah. And where it was shot in Iraqi Kurdistan, right?
Le film se déroule dans le Kurdistan syrien. J'aimerais savoir si vous avez éprouvé des difficultés à trouver un emplacement pour le tournage, car j'imagine que ce n'était pas sur place. Go ahead.
You know, one of the reasons why 25 years I didn't make this movie, it was that really I was waiting to make the movie, to have a possibility to make this movie in Syrian Kurdistan. That was very important for me. And when start this civil war in Syria and the Kurdish people had a control above the Kurdish area, I said, now maybe it's a time to make the movie exactly there. And that was one of the reasons. And then I started, and for me, it was very important to shoot it really in the same places where I was living, in the same places which I knew them. But unfortunately, when we start to become nearer to the production, to start the shooting, we heard that Trump will take the American soldiers from Kurdistan away, and then Turkish army, Turkish regime with his ex-ISIS fighters, they start to attack Kurdistan, Syria, and they get Afrin, a place for Kurds occupied, and the security of my crew was very important. And that time we said, no, we have to find other solution, and we find a small village in Iraqi Kurdistan, not far away from Syrian border, and we rebuilt this village because everything was new. It's 2020, everything built from glasses and cement, and I wanted to have a small houses like where I was, school like where I was, and that's why what we did, we built these houses. Even we planted the garden. This garden was planted. We made a watering, everything we did it there. We had to pay more costs. We brought everything from Syrian Kurdistan, all accessories, all these things, we brought it from there. And we shot it then in a small village, but it was really the same. You can just imagine that the place, even the mountains behind, because in Kamishli, if you see the other side of the border, the Turkish side, there is a mountains too. That's why we did it exactly somehow the same place. Yeah.
Bien, c'est précisément la raison pour laquelle j'ai attendu 25 ans. C'était très important pour moi de réaliser le film sur place, mais ce n'était pas possible auparavant. Et puis, durant la guerre civile, c'est enfin devenu possible. Sauf que le temps est venu de tourner. La géopolitique avec Trump et les soldats d'ISIS qui avaient attaqué, les choses avaient changé et la sécurité de l'équipe de tournage était compromise. Alors, comme c'est quelque chose qui me tient à cœur, j'ai dû changer les plans. On s'est alors tourné vers l'Irak, un petit village juste de l'autre côté de la frontière, sauf que tout avait été reconstruit, tout était nouveau. Alors ça a engendré une grosse hausse de coûts parce qu'il a fallu tout apporter de Syrie, les accessoires, etc., pour que ce soit le plus fidèle à la réalité. Et le paysage est sensiblement le même. Les montagnes sont similaires. En fait, on s'y croirait et c'est ce qui compte.
I've got a question from the audience here. I love this question. There's a lot of poetry in the film, both in the dialogue, in the cinematography. There's something poetic about it. Would you say that you have the soul of a poet?
Il y a beaucoup de poésie dans votre film, que ce soit au niveau des dialogues ou de la filmographie. Est-ce que vous pourriez du coup dire que vous avez une âme de poète?
Maybe. I have a thin soul, you know, really, I have a thin soul. My soul is very thin.
Écoutez, peut-être, j'ai une âme très, très fine.
Okay, I have another question from the audience. I know that before you had spoken about how really your goal in making documentary films and feature and fiction narratives are the same. You know, it's the same thing for you. Do you think that one genre is more effective than the other in terms of convincing people and sending a message of peace? Do you think they're more likely to get it from a fiction film like this or a documentary? Jules?
Vous avez mentionné tout à l'heure que vos objectifs dans la réalisation d'un documentaire ou d'un film étaient les mêmes. Est-ce que vous pensez que l'un des médias serait plus propice pour convaincre le public et transmettre votre message de paix?
Thank you. I think for me, I just telling this thing, you know, we are living in Europe, for example. I don't know how it is in the United States or you know, in Canada, but we have a very good conditions for documentary films. When we are making documentary film, we are going to the cinema, theaters, you know, we are showing the movie in the same time, in prime time in the cinema, like any other Hollywood movie, or in, you know, we are showing the movies, documentary in the same, like a fiction movie in the theaters. That means we have this possibility to bring the movie to the people. Of course, it is different. Many young people don't go to see documentary movies. They are going to see fiction movie. We know this, you know, but it is all the time which subject you are talking about. If I'm talking about neighbors, I know which people are going to see my movies. My movie is not a popcorn movie. Definitely not. People are going, if they will buy a popcorn, they will not eat it in the cinema, because they will not, they have no possibility to eat it and showing this story, you know. And that's why it's I think it's a things of the maker to decide which way I have to bring this work to my audiences. You know, it's just to jump somewhere else. It's like a kitchen. Let's say you have somebody is coming to you at home and you see that they are vegetarians. Now I have to cook something really without meat for them, and but the way how you are cooking, it's still your way, you know. And this is we are of course we are not asking people, do you like this genre, or shall I do like this for you or like this? Of course not. I am making the movie how I love it, how I imagine that it's coming, you know. I never show my movie before it's finished to somebody to tell me, is it good or not? No, I make my movie, we edit it, we finish it, and we say, okay, now the movie is finished. Like this, I love it, you know. And yeah.
Ouais. Écoutez, on habite en Europe et pour nous, Européens, je ne sais pas comment ça fonctionne en Amérique du Nord ou ailleurs dans le monde, mais nous avons de très bonnes conditions pour les documentaires qui peuvent être présentés dans les cinémas. On peut amener le film au monde ou le documentaire, mais au fond, tout dépend du projet dont on parle. Vous n'allez pas venir voir mon film en apportant du maïs soufflé, vous n'allez pas le manger. C'est au réalisateur de voir comment il veut procéder. C'est un peu comme pour un chef. Si vous avez un végétarien qui vient chez vous, bon, vous ne pouvez pas faire de viande, mais vous allez quand même toujours cuisiner à votre propre manière. Et bien pour un film, c'est pareil. Moi, je réalise mes films, je les édite et je fais tout le travail. Et ensuite, je le présente. Je ne demande pas moi, leur avis aux gens avant d'en être rendu là.
And one of the things, for example, I made a movie some years ago, 10 years ago, called Our Garden of Eden. It's about people living in the allotment gardens in Switzerland. You know, there is some gardens here in Switzerland. Everybody have his own about 140 meter squares, and from different nations, different people living together. Turks, near to a Kurd, a Croatian, near to a Bosnian, to a Serb, to Serbian, to a Albanese, to Portuguese, Greek, all these people living together, and they made a movie about it. It's until now, it's one of the 100 best movie ever made in Switzerland, regarding to the film critics, film journalists, regarding to the union of filmmakers in Switzerland. And I mean, this movie until now is showing everywhere. Until now, they are telling me, is there some DVDs to buy? You know, it's 10 years now, and this movie is working. Everybody in Switzerland, I think, who is just interested about the movie, if you tell him Our Garden of Eden, you say, yes, of course, we know this about Allotment Garden. This is a nice movie. It's a very human and very funny movie, you know. And you see that.
Is there any way we can see it?
Of course, you can have a link, no problem.
And
you see the power of the movie, how you are making it. I think it depends how much blood you are putting in this work, how much love you are putting in this work. This is my opinion, I say all the time. Huh? I'm not teaching anybody.
Eh bien, écoutez, il y a 10 ans, j'avais tourné un documentaire qui s'appelait Notre jardin d'Éden, et c'était sur des jardins alloués en Suisse d'environ 40 mètres carrés et qui regroupaient en croate, aux côtés d'un serbe, d'un albanais, d'un portugais, et tout le monde faisait son petit jardin ensemble. Et à ce jour, selon les critiques cinématographiques, ça reste un des meilleurs 100 films jamais réalisés sur place. On me demande encore de manière routinière comment est-ce qu'on peut se procurer le DVD. Tout le monde en Suisse qui est le moindrement cinéphile a entendu parler de ce film, mais c'est un peu ça le pouvoir du film, et je pense qu'il se mesure à la dose d'amour que vous décidez de mettre dans votre production. Go ahead.
One question from the audience: what directors have inspired your work?
Une question du public: nous aimerions connaître les réalisateurs qui ont inspiré votre œuvre.
You know, when I was in Syria as a small child, it was a very nice story. I was going to see the movies. I was getting my pocket money, and it was very nice. I was waiting all the time in front of the cinema, a little bit, some meters, until everybody was going on. 10 minutes from the beginning of the movie, closing the doors. A guy was standing in front of the door, you know, and I was going to him, giving him a quarter of this money, of the tickets money, and he was letting me to go to the cinema. I was loving these movies. I was loving this imagined world, you know, this hot world, 50 degrees, you know, 45, and you are going in the cinema, you're looking somewhere in Japan or China or something, cowboys, or you're seeing movies, and somehow I loved this world. And then when I start to go to Czechoslovakia, I met really a big, great filmmakers there. During my study, I met Jiří Menzel. I saw movies there from Miloš Forman, from all these great Chytilova, all great Dušan Hanak, or you know, these big names in Czechoslovakia, and I loved them somehow. And of course, then came all these great filmmakers, neorealism in Italy, from De Sica, Fellini, Pasolini, and all the new wave in France. This made somehow us to love the cinema. You know, one name, what today? There is many names, you know.
Eh bien, écoutez, il y a beaucoup de noms. Une petite anecdote au passage, quand j'ai grandi en Syrie, que j'étais jeune, on me donnait de l'argent en poche et j'en avais pas assez pour aller au ciné, mais j'attendais toujours devant la porte, et quelques minutes avant qu'il les ferme, je donnais tout mon petit change à la personne qui me laissait rentrer. J'ai toujours eu la passion des films, et quand je suis parti étudier en Tchécoslovaquie, j'ai rencontré de très grands réalisateurs comme Jiří Menzel, Dušan Hanak, etc. J'ai ensuite été beaucoup inspiré par les films de l'école néo-réaliste d'Italie, comme Pasolini et Fellini, ainsi que par tous les grands noms de la nouvelle vague en France. Ouais.
I realize that we've kept you now for over an hour, so that's absolutely fantastic. So, but I want to wrap up with one last question, and then we'll let you go. What are your upcoming projects?
Eh bien, je sais que nous vous avons retenu pendant presque plus d'une heure, mais j'aimerais quand même prendre le temps de glisser cette dernière question, à savoir quels sont vos futurs projets?
I have really now here near to me 3 projects, and I am not decided now which one I am starting, but in next month it will be the how they say the choose that this one is. 2 of them are international movies. and one is Swiss movie. Really a Swiss movie. It's again somehow about my world, about my Switzerland, how I am as a filmmaker coming from somewhere, looking at this microcosmos which call it Switzerland. Many things in Switzerland are very, very nice. You know, you cannot imagine them that as a Kurd, as a filmmaker coming from this country, which is destroyed now, and coming to this country which is working. And I say that, you know, to compare my world where I'm coming from to this world, it's 500 years different. And for many Swiss people, it's just a normal life. It's a normal way. But for me, it's not normal. For me, it's not normal that a Swiss franc, there's 4 languages written on, you know, French, Italian, German, and Rheto-Romansh. Just today, I was just reading a news that the Iranian regime imprisoned a Kurdish girl because she was teaching Kurdish language to small children. They put her for 5 years in the prison. And just to imagine this, my world with the world where I am living now in Switzerland. And I want to see something about this movie. Maybe it will be a Swiss movie. My view on this world and this Swiss nice life, I mean, yeah.
Écoutez, j'ai 3 projets sur lesquels j'aimerais travailler prochainement. Dans ces 3 projets, il y en a 2 qui sont des films internationaux et un qui sera un film suisse. Ce film suisse porterait sur ma vision du monde, ma Suisse, à travers le prisme de mon métier de réalisateur. Il y a des choses très belles pour un Kurde qui a immigré ici et j'aimerais procéder à la comparaison entre les deux. Pour la majorité des Suisses, ce qu'ils vivent ici est normal, alors que pour moi, c'est aux antipodes. Ici, il y a par exemple 4 langues, le français, l'italien, l'allemand et le romanche. Alors que là d'où je viens, c'est complètement différent. Prenez l'exemple, récemment, le régime iranien a arrêté une enseignante qui a été condamnée à 5 ans de prison parce qu'elle enseignait le kurde à des enfants. C'est le jour et la nuit. Donc, à travers ce projet de film suisse, j'aimerais avoir l'occasion d'exposer ma vue sur cette vie locale. Voilà.
All right. So with that, Mano, I want to say thank you. That was, it's just a beautiful, beautiful movie. And I hope that it will come to Toronto to our festival and that we'll see you in person. That would be my wish.
I hope so. I hope so.
C'est un film formidable que nous avons eu beaucoup de plaisir à voir et j'espère que vous viendrez le présenter chez nous à Toronto également, soit quoi répondre nous qui auraient également beaucoup participé.
Thank you a lot. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Joel, too, for your nice. And I'm sorry, sometimes we forget that you are.
It's okay to be passionate.
Thank you. Exactly. Next time we have to learn it. And I hope my English was somehow understandable because, you know, to speak all these languages, my mother language is Kurdish, then I had to learn Arabic. I went to Czechoslovakia. I learned Czech and Slovak. When I came to Switzerland, I was in Ticino or Tessin, where they are speaking Italian. And now I am living in Bern, where they are speaking German. My family are speaking Greek. And we have so many things in my head that sometimes really I am by myself. I don't know which language I have to say.
Well, your English is perfect.
Thank you a lot, Susan.
Mano s'inquiétait pour la qualité de son anglais, vu que sa mère parle kurde, qu'il a appris l'arabe quand il est migré, il a appris le tchèque et le slovaque, et qu'il habitait dans le Tessin, où il a dû apprendre l'italien. Maintenant, il est à Berne, où il parle allemand, et avec sa famille, il parle grec. Alors, c'est parfois un petit peu mêlant. OK.
All right. See you all. Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
Merci.
Have a nice
Bye-bye.
evening. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, Joe.